Okay, good evening, everyone. Great to see everyone here. Full house, but if we need more chairs, maybe someone could check outside with one of the custodians. Anyway, it's 7:04. I'm calling the public forum to order now. My name is Andy Deuce. It's been my great honor to have chaired this past year the Havemeyer Building Request for Proposal Evaluation Committee. That's a mouthful. So I think for tonight, I'll just refer to it as the RFP committee. Keep it simple. In addition to tonight's in-person presentation in the town hall meeting room, this forum will also be accessible live via Zoom and on cable TV channel 79. The meeting is also being recorded and will be made available through the town website. Our purpose tonight is to summarize the committee's recommendations and to take questions and comments from the public. First, we'll review some of the history of the Havemeyer building, then the recent RFP process initiated by the First Selectman, and finally, recommendations of the RFP committee to the First Selectman. For this segment, I plan to present a set of slides that I hope will answer some questions. The presentation should take about 20 minutes, and the deck will be available beginning tomorrow on the town website. Second, we'll open the forum up to your questions and comments. Now, these may address either the RFP committee's recommended proposal, it could address the process, it could address the other proposals received by the committee, or other comments regarding the future use of the Havemeyer property. It's all open. We'll take questions and comments. I don't think the format allows us to answer the questions here, but everything that you say is going to be recorded and reviewed by us, and it will inform our future discussions. If you wish to speak, please add your name to the list, which now is over on the far side. List your name and contact information. We may follow up with some of the speakers directly. And if you're on Zoom, you have to raise your hand. Wendy Joe, the committee's liaison with the First Selectman's office, will call this. Actually, we changed the plan. I'm going to be calling the speakers, right, Wendy?
Yeah, you're going to do that.
Okay. On the fly. Okay. And it'll be in the sequence of the sign-up. Everyone has a limit of 3 minutes, and after 2.5 minutes, Wendy will give you a heads up that your time's nearing the end. After all those present have completed their questions and comments, Wendy will then permit those on Zoom to ask their questions. This forum is scheduled to run through 9 o'clock, and if you do not have an opportunity to speak tonight, we'll probably have to schedule a follow-on forum. Now, let me say before moving on to the slides that tonight we're really just crossing the starting line for a serious public discussion and review of proposals for Havemeyer. This is just a review of 6 proposals we received through one process, but invariably, and particularly in this town, there'll be many other ideas. And as I said, this is the start of a process, not the end of a process. Okay, so with that said, let's see if this works. Okay. One of the biggest questions we've gotten already, and I've tried to anticipate that with this presentation, is who are we? This is a list of the committee members on the RFP committee. And joining me tonight are most of those members. I'll identify them from my right. Karen Hirsch, Sophie Coven, David Weisbrod, Carol Acunto, Deb Hawley, Bill Finger, sorry, I couldn't get my finger, and Mark Johnson. Anyone else? No. And we're missing 2 members. One's in the city with a business engagement he cannot change. The other is at a son's wedding overseas. Sorry? No, okay. Now, these members were selected for First Selectman based on his perception of their judgment and their experience. As you can see by the slide, it's also behind me, many have substantial town government experience, whether on the Board of Investment and Taxation or on the Board of Education. Other members have experience in some capacity with real estate development. Also, you may not realize it, but the committee is relatively balanced politically, so not that it makes a difference. Okay. The Havemeyer building is one of the crown jewels in the town. It's located on 2.7 acres at 290 Greenwich Avenue. That's right in the center of the Greenwich Historic District. It was constructed in the 1890s as a school. The building comprises 53,000 square feet over 4 levels, and it was designed by noted architects Phillips and Loring in a distinctive Richardson-esque, Romanesque style. It really stands out. Also noteworthy is the landscaping. It was done by a leading late 1800s landscaper called Ernest Bowditch, and it was funded by Henry Havemeyer. I should add something on Henry Havemeyer. It's an interesting story. He lacked any formal schooling after age 8. He left school. And he joined his family's sugar business, which was a smart move, and he made his fortune there. And keenly aware of his education deficiencies, he funded not just the Havemeyer building, but he also funded the old Greenwich School in 1902. I mean, so it's a remarkable legacy here he's done for the town. Since the 1940s, I think it was in 48, that was last year, it was used as a school, and the central administrative staff of the schools, otherwise known as the BOE staff, moved into the building, and they've been there ever since. And that's about 7 or 8 decades ago. And for about 6 decades, or 5 decades at least, there's always been a debate, should they stay there or should they relocate? And it's never been answered, but it's a discussion that's held every 5 years or so. Sorry, it doesn't reach quite here. Hang on here. There we go. We had two cooks here. Okay, we'll go back to the Genesis slide. Well, I can go on. In recent years, there's been increasing concerns about the building's aging infrastructure and higher maintenance costs. And believing that the current use may not be optimal, and that the renovation costs may become soon unaffordable, the first selectman established a bipartisan Havemeyer Advisory Committee back in 2022. And its purpose was just to gather information on the building, and not to make change any use of it. Sorry. Why don't you pass this down? One of you guys try. It's better. Okay, there we go. Let's go to Genesis. One more. One more. There we go. Stop. Okay. 12 months later, the advisory committee recommended unanimously that the town seek new space for the staff and consider an RFP for ideas on repurposing the building. In response, the first selectman issued in July of 2024 a request for proposal, RFP 7871, regarding the building and establishing a new committee to review the proposals pursuant to the RFP. Okay. The RFP was issued last July, and this is really the first time that the town has ever solicited formally ideas on what might be done there. And the objectives were fairly broadly defined, as you can tell from what's written here. We wanted to not prematurely cut off any sort of area of suggestions. Let me read them to you. First, we were seeking creative proposals that generate strong economic activities and meaningful community uses. 2, we're seeking a proposal with high quality vision for the redevelopment and long-term use. 3, the proposal should capture the historic significance of the building and its architecture and parkland. Consider new additions or enhancements that are compatible with the existing building and immediate site and conform to the surrounding area and neighborhoods. And 4, the cost of the repair, preservation, and renovation was to be paid by the developer in exchange for a long-term lease. Okay, so the RFP was filed publicly. We publicized it, and we gave it 5 months for responses. That's a little bit longer than usual, but we're trying to get quality responses to the RFP. The deadline was December 20th of last year, and we received 6 proposals. Among the 5 that were not selected were proposals that included recommended offices, condos, retail, a senior living residence, and an entertainment production facility and performance venue. bound by the disclosure rules of the town's purchasing department and the state procurement code, all the deliberations of the committee were confidential. Our votes, however, were public, and we did publicize those. That was frustrating for a lot of people in town, but that's the process that's been defined for us. I remind everyone that the RFP committee was limited to only evaluating the proposals we received. Okay. So we had several recommendations. We submitted that late May to the first selectman. The first set of recommendations basically says, let's get public as soon as we can, because we did not like being quiet as long as we did. So we asked to have our recommendations published. We asked to have all the proposals published. And we also recommended a public forum, such as what we're doing today, finally to be done as soon as practical. And here we are. And we'll have more forums if need be. But more specifically, the committee also recommended unanimously a proposal that entailed a two-part $100 million development of the property. The first part was, first it was a lease for the whole property, whole 2.7 acres. And then to do the redevelopment of the Havemeyer building, which you'll hear more about in a second. But was also very helpful was that the second part of the proposal was to build a municipal facility at the southern end of the property, primarily prompted by the need for parking. And this parking facility will have 2 levels, one of which is partially underground, parking for the BOE, and the upper of the 2 levels for parking would be for the valet service for the hotel. And the top 2 floors of about 20,000 square feet would be sufficient, or 20,750 actually, would be sufficient to house the staff for the Havemeyer building that we'll be moving over. That solves 2 problems, as I mentioned earlier. It's not sufficient just to renovate the building, but if you do major renovation, you have to have the people who are working there currently exit the building. It just can't coexist. And if we're going to try to attract private capital, that's really a very, very easy decision. This is a peek at what's going to be proposed. You'll have more details on this, but this is a view from a schematic overhead in the top left-hand corner showing a renovated Havemeyer building and the proposed municipal building to the lower left. There's a top-down site view on the top right, and the bottom panorama is from Greenwich Avenue looking across Arch Street toward the Havemeyer building on the right and toward the new municipal building on the left. Okay, I'll come back to this later. The major proposal for the Havemeyer building is to convert it into a hotel with about 70 rooms or so. And to allow that to proceed, the proposal is to do a fill-in in the northwest corner of the building. Actually, Dev, let's go back 1 slide real quick. If you look at the upper right-hand corner, you see the light gray section of the Havemeyer building. Right now, that's currently parking, open parking for the building. And the proposal is to keep the parking there, but build above that several stories of floors. It'll be an atrium, actually. It'll be very nice. It doesn't compromise the east facade or the south facade, which are the 2 classic facades that we're seeking to maintain visibility to. Okay, back forward 1 slide, Deb. Okay. In addition, around the building, there will be open parkland, restored and enhanced with new plantings, walkways, and public seating. On the south side of the building, which is now currently a paved parking lot, there will be a access road, but there'll also be new trees and plantings there, which will be very attractive. Okay, next slide. Here are a couple of schematics from what the hotel might look like. On the left-hand side, it's a schematic of the first floor entry with the desk on the right, going up to the 2nd story. At the very top, you have skylights coming down. The picture at the top right is a view of a rendering of how the atrium might look. That's on top where the current parking is in the northwest corner. It'll be covered and available all seasons. And the bottom right is a picture currently of the main hallway in the building. Now, fortunately, much of the proposal takes advantage of the current walls, which are structurally sound, and there's no reason to remove them. So, and it all works. Additionally, to the extent possible, we're going to try to also utilize the building as what we call a public access community commons feature. There's an auditorium that's not been used since 1948 that would be fully restored and could serve seating for up to 100 people. It could be a venue for theater, live music, dance, film, and dining, and it could be available to community groups. It will have state-of-the-art mechanical lighting and sound systems. Be skylit along the gallery from up above. There'll be public access to the restaurant. There's also going to be a rooftop bar and event space. And underneath the stage area, underneath the auditorium, there'll be a number of conference rooms constructed, which will be open to the public to rent. Next slide. Again, here's a rendering. On the top is how the auditorium might look if it's set up for a dinner theater. The bottom right are the new windows, which resemble what was done in the 1890s, but have long since disappeared. They're very, very attractive. But the most interesting picture here is the bottom left, which is how the auditorium looks currently. It's been gutted, and basically the whole lower level of that is a bunch of offices, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, let's go on the next slide here. The municipal building, as I said, will be 4 stories, one of which will be buried. The top 2 would be floors that would be suitable to house the staff of the BOE. This is an option. We don't have to do this. The developer proposal is to actually do the renovation, and if we want to do this, fine. If not, they'll continue with the outside parking for the hotel and the other activities at the Havemeyer building. But I think it's a smart thing to do. It would expand parking for the town. As I said, the bottom, it would be a total of 97 parking spaces. The bottom 65 or so would be used for the BET. Excuse me, wrong hat. BOE. Whoa, let me pause there. I made a mistake. The first selectman is here. Fred, if you would, why don't you come on up here, and if you'd like to make a few comments, I know your time is precious. You've been interrupted. You can do it up here, or if you want to do it at the podium.
Well, I'll stand here.
Okay, then we'll take one of the speakers.
I'll try to project my voice.
Okay. Very good. We got a pro here. Okay.
How's that? Okay. All right, thank you. I don't want to block everybody. Thank you. I was just over at HDC for the Bush statue, and that's going very well there. So thank you all for being here. Special thanks to all of you for being on this task force, and Andy for leading 2 of them. Very few things in my lifetime growing up here have been transformational. Right? You can really count them on one hand. Right? And not that I'm this old, but in 1947, we got Todd's Point, right, for about $5.50. We had Coscott Park less than 2 decades ago, but not much. But something like this in a property in the middle of our downtown district that right now houses the Board of Education, which it has for decades, but they roughly need about 19 or 20,000 square feet. The building's 53,000 square feet. As you heard, it's fallen apart. There's been many, many efforts in the past. There's been 2 significant ones in 2000, and then about 8 years later. And in one of those efforts, maybe some of the people are in here, they had gotten about $35 million in pledges, and the town walked away from it. We have to, because the board, at that moment, the administration did not want to leave. Now they're very open to leaving for obvious reasons. So this building here, which again is 53,000 square feet, they don't need that much, but it's on our dime. So estimates, I had one guy look at it who's well-known in town and does work all over the world. He told me he estimated $50 million to fix the building up. I know one of the respondents is looking to spend more than that. If we don't do it, it's on our dime, and what are we going to use it for? Right? This is a true public-private partnership. It gets the work done by the partner. We retain ownership with a ground lease. We get in revenue from it. But there's a public access component that we don't have now. If you don't have business with the Board of Education, you're not going in there. It's in the heart of a district, and a building that's estimated to be between $74 million and $100 million worth. Right? When you look at that, you say, why? What are we waiting for? And now the time is right because the building is not getting any better. We are really looking at a solution to find a place for the Board of Education. We think we have it in at least a couple of these proposals. And you can see that's transformational. It brings a very dark part of the town, of the avenue, it goes dead, right, at night when you walk by there. This is going to be transformational for that. And again, it helps all the other businesses too. It keeps things going. So to me, it's a win-win-win. But we wanted to make sure that the public is all in on this and that your ideas are there. We don't want anybody. I said I stayed out of this, and they've done a great job, and they didn't always agree. Right? And that's a good thing. Right? You have divergent views, you come to a better conclusion. And that's why this was a really important part, is having you all here and listening to the presentation, thinking about it, and telling us your thoughts too. So enough from me, but again, thank you very much for all the time and effort you've put into this. Thank you. Ben, thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Okay. We're looking at the proposed combination garage and BOE offices. As I was saying, the lower level would have about 65 spaces that would be used for the BOE. Obviously, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It'd be available every evening and on weekends for the public to park there as well. Next slide. The other challenge for this RFP was to move ahead on any project, we need to find a permanent home for the BOE staff. And they have to move out of that building to get it renovated, and if it's repurposed the way it's been proposed, there's no room for them there. This other building is excellent, well located right in the center of town, close to where they were, close and very accessible to parents. One of the steps to proceed is to find a space that's suitable, and that will require ultimately their approval of the BOE to move. The staff, as Fred mentioned, requires only about 20,000 square feet. We understand it'll be a dislocation for about 2 years if they move to a temporary spot while this building is being constructed. The actual construction period for this building is about I don't know, 18 months or so, but there needs some overlap. Let's go to the next slide. Another feature I want to highlight is the space between the two buildings. Even though the underground garage would actually extend all the way up to the Havemeyer building, it will be beneath a plaza that will be created between the old Havemeyer building and the new garage and BOE offices. Very wide. It'd be green. Actually, this whole design increases the green space on the property by 15%. Is that about right, guys? Okay. 20%, okay. And it also permits, importantly, good view lines from Greenwich Avenue up to the south facade, which is just exquisite. Okay, financial considerations. First, there's going to be a payment for an upfront payment proposed for the ground lease. I don't know if this is high or low, but as it says here, we haven't discussed this or negotiated anything yet. This is just the proposal we're conveying here. This will be for a long-term lease so that the developer would have time to earn back a good return on their capital. Importantly, the Havemeyer building would be returned to the, not returned, it will go on the tax rolls for the first time. And estimated first-year property taxes would be at $850,000. Sorry. Oh yeah, I need glasses. Sorry, guys. The bigger issue or opportunity here is if we're able to proceed with this plan, we avoid having to pay capital costs and maintenance costs on the current property. And we're not making this up. This is in the current town capital plan for this facility. They're projecting or paying at least $24.8 million through 2033. That's pretty precise. I think it's probably just an estimate, but it's still a big number. And lastly, and this is something that we can't quantify, our general sense is the combination hotel, restaurant, other community activities there has to be a contributor to the economic vitality of the central business district. As Fred mentioned, if you walk down the street in the evenings these days, and the lights are very nice, the trees up north and south of there, you go by the Havemeyer, it's just a black hole. It's very disappointing. Other considerations. Important details. We need to study expected traffic impact. We need to study the adequacy of proposed parking. We need to review the extent of public access. A lot of this will be on working with the planning and zoning folks. We also need to, as I said, relocate the staff while there are new facilities being constructed for about 2 years. That will cost about $5 million. And finally, we need to determine how to structure the terms of the access the town will have to the building, to the municipal building. Long term, we want to own it because that gives greater certainty to the Board of Education staff. Until we can execute the acquisition, maybe we have to rent it for a period of time. Anyway, that all needs to be discussed. Okay, the most qualified proposal was submitted by Eagle Peoples. And we felt that it was most closely aligned with all the various criteria set forth. It's a team that includes the developer. It's a joint venture between Eagle Ventures and the Peoples Corporation. We have a design team and a construction team, and we have some members here from all those elements. Let me say some more if I can about that. Eagle Ventures is a commercial real estate development, investment, and services platform founded and led by Greenwich native and resident Jim Cabrera, and his son Peter is now his colleague. You guys want to stand up? Or raise your hands, or whatever. Its portfolio includes 100 West Putnam, which is a 1.26 million square feet Class A offices. And it also is a co-owner of the Delamar, Greenwich Harbor Hotel. The next group is from the Peoples Corporation and its affiliate, Legacy Real Estate Development. It's the leading privately held national real estate investment and development company specializing in residential, hospitality, and retail. Its portfolio comprises 10 million square feet and $8 billion in completed and active projects. The firm specializes in private equity partnerships with historical renovation projects. Mark Loeb and Jonathan Lieb are here representing Peoples. You can stand or raise your hand. Okay. Thank you. The architect of record is Granoff Associates, who I think everyone here knows, based in Greenwich. You know their adaptive reuse of the former CL&P building on Railroad Avenue. It's now their headquarters. And the former Greenwich Post Office immediately across the street, across Arch Street from the Havemeyer, which has done very well. It's gotten a lot of awards. He is not here tonight. The design architect is David Scott Parker Architects. Based in Southport, it is nationally renowned for its expertise in historical preservation. Local projects include the transformation of the Bush Holly House into the campus for the Greenwich Historical Society. The firm is led by David Parker, who is here tonight with his longtime colleague, John Waslowski. Okay. Happy to have you here. Thank you for making the trip. Next steps. As I said earlier, we just started the public engagement, public feedback process, and this won't be the last night where you have an opportunity to provide feedback. At some point in the near future, I expect that the first selectman will establish a town transaction committee supported by outside professionals. And then after that, there'll be review and preliminary approval by various town departments and entities that at each step you'll have more public engagement. These entities include planning and zoning for code compliance, the Board of Education for approval to exit the building and agreeing on the terms for the new building, the BET for approval of funding, the RTM for approval of long-term lease, and also for the funding ultimately, and the Historic District Commission. It sounds daunting. Anyway, the next steps after that will be negotiation of an operating lease, of an operating agreement rather, to ensure long-term maintenance and use of the facilities remains at a high standard. The financial terms also need to be discussed. Final approvals will be needed from the BOE, BET, and RTM. And the estimated post-approval construction periods are 18 months for the hotel and 16 months for the municipal building. And with that, I'd like to really thank you for coming out tonight and giving us your feedback. It's really important, and we rely on that to make sure we don't go awry here in this process. I do encourage you to read, if you've not read, the proposals generally, the proposal in particular that we have tonight, our recommendation, and also anything else we'll be posting. We'll be posting a couple of these. We'll be posting this deck on the website tomorrow. Community engagement is essential for the future chapter in Havemeyer's building. So I appreciate your time. That's the end of the regular presentation. We're going to go to Q&A right now, and I don't have a list, Wendy, or if you're going to do it from there, or I can do it from here. Okay. Again, you have the list there? There's a list right to your left, right next to Fred. Yeah. Then bring it over to me so I can start calling people. The drill is 3 minutes. After 2.5 minutes, you'll get a reminder from Wendy that your time is getting short. And it's questions or comments. As I said, we're not equipped to take and respond to answers, but we will take everything you suggest to us very seriously, and it will inform our future actions. Could someone please bring me that list? Okay. And when I'll call the name for the speaker, and I will call a second name for the person to follow immediately thereafter, so don't waste time in between speakers, like we're doing now. Okay, is there an extra copy there, or is this just all of it? Hang on. Here, take this back. There we go. Okay.
So I'm gonna give a reminder when it's gonna happen.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna give you a reminder when it's 2.5 minutes, and you kind of know how to control the time.
Yes, okay, very good. Okay, the first speaker is Christine Edwards, to be followed by John Spang. Okay, make sure hit the button. Okay, is it on?
Is it on?
Yeah.
Good. My name is Christine Edwards. Thank you for all the time that you've put in, and I'm so glad to see such a good turnout here. I'm one of these people who've spoken a number of times on the fact that we need a vision for Greenwich. And it's a very interesting vision that this is proposing, but I want to go back to a few things. Number one, when Coscob School burned down, the discussion was to just tear it down, distribute the kids. Instead, we rebuilt that school, and we have a fabulous facility. I also have been in the arts, and I was one of the organizations that was in Stanford Forum. Remember when that was a Stanford Art Center? Everyone, with a black box theater and everything else, went bankrupt. And that became Jerry Springer. It's a wonderful thing to think, let's do a commercial venture. Let's do this. Let's have somebody else build it. And I'm very excited to see, in some ways, the way it's laid out. But every time I go to the senior center and see all the posts in the middle, and go to Ridgefield Senior Center, if any of you have been there, where you walk in, it looks like a country club. We probably owe more to the seniors than we're providing there. 20 years ago, I remember this discussion on the Havemeyer Lane. I remember all sorts of different developments. And what I look at when I see this layout, how wonderful it would be to have that underground parking and where the Board of Ed is, have senior housing, redo that building, have it for the Board of Ed, again, repurposed and redone, have a really good, lovely senior center in there with some of the space that gives you a much better layout. The black box theater sounds great, but I've seen too much theater not being used. We have a lot of theaters, and we're going to have a new theater in Central Middle School that's going to accommodate quite a lot of people. I also see parking that we have for the public during the day also gone, pretty much, it looks like. So we need to have a better vision, all in all, in Greenwich. We already lost a possibility to extend the parking lot for Cos Cobb School by having housing built. How great that it was, but it was $1 million that we could have extended something we needed, while every single private school in the area buys everything they come nearby. We need to have a vision, we need to use our money in a wise way, and we need to not just look at a commercial development, no matter how beautiful and good this may be. There are other opportunities and other land that can be repurposed in that way. I love the fact that we have something like the Board of Education easily accessed by people who may need to go there by bus. That's great. It's central, it's located. But how nice it would be to have senior housing where they're showing the Board of Ed's new building and still have the Board of Ed, a repurposed, beautiful senior center, and maybe use that theater in the way that we could, but not to see this as a possibility that we're really going to have an economic development. I disagree with the use of this as a commercial. I think Greenwich needs to take it back for its own use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, John Spang is followed by Suzanne Leo.
Okay. First, thank you very much for serving on this committee. It's volunteers like yourselves giving up your time. That's what makes our town great, so thank you for all the time you've put in. I grew up here, I live here now, and I've been a local government official for over 41 years, both here in Connecticut and in Westchester County. And in those jobs, I've opened up hundreds of RFPs, RFIs, sealed bids, and so forth. And I want you to succeed. I really do, whether it's this idea or something else, particularly listening from the first selectman. But you got it backwards. You got it backwards. You're calling us here tonight to get our opinions, to get our input. You expressed it quite eloquently, the need to hear from us. But you should have called us much sooner. And I'm afraid by calling us now, after it's all done, it's going to appear that the fix is in. It's going to appear that way. Now, appearance is sometimes more important than what you're actually doing, but that's going to follow you through all the approval process. The decision was already made without the government, without the people's input. Now, there is no groundswell for more hotel space in Greenwich. There's no groundswell to get the Board of Education out of the Havemeyer building. Those are not going on. And I'll leave the history of the neighborhood to the others. They know it much better than I. But once you give something up, you never get it back. We only have to look at the Byram School. The day after that was closed, ever since, people have been saying you shouldn't have let that building go. Look at this building ourselves. In 1970, when the new high school was opened, the town hall was in the senior center, and people didn't want to come here to locate town government. They thought it was too big. They wanted to knock it down. The compromise, they knocked down a whole wing of this building. This used to be a square. It's not a square anymore. The reason? They didn't want local government to get any bigger. A bigger building would have meant bigger government. So you get one shot at things like this with government buildings. I want you to do it right. I would encourage you, though, however, to reject all bids. Reject all bids. I know you've put in a lot of time already, but listen to us, listen to the people, and then you write your specs, then you write your RFP and see what comes back. So thank you for listening.
Okay, Suzanne Leo, followed by Sally Kellogg.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Suzanne Leo. I am the Executive Director of Greenwich Symphony Orchestra. I've been a nonprofit arts leader and proponent in the town of Greenwich for over a decade. And I think I would ask this committee and the residents to remember what problem we're trying to solve. First and foremost, the Board of Ed needs a new home. And what you had asked for in your RFP was a permanent, centrally located, town-owned home with 20,000 square feet, as you said. And you also asked for no disruption to services or unnecessary temporary moves within that RFP. I feel like the current suggested proposal contradicts cost efficiency, stability goals. There's no guarantee that the town will own the building. It is optional, and it adds a relocation and a rental burden. On top of that, there was a promise of public and educational use. The building was to serve an educational or public purpose with creative proposals that include meaningful community uses and frequent public access. And I would argue that a hotel, rooftop bar, rental space, and rental auditorium that doubles somehow as a restaurant venue, I don't understand that. But I would say that that community benefit is limited, and it really lacks the guarantee that the RFP wanted to see regular public access of the space. So I'm here in support of the Havemeyer Performing Arts and Residential Project that was put forth by Chuck Royce and by John Ferrari. In your report, you had said they had come in at a close second, and I would ask the towns and the residents to take a good look at that proposal to see how it solves the problem that you are trying to solve. I think with a performing arts space that's dedicated to the arts, unlike the library theaters, unlike the Performing Arts Center, which the symphony performs in regularly, it is often too large for those mid-size and smaller nonprofits who need a home. My office is at 299 Greenwich Avenue, and I often see these smaller to mid-size nonprofit acting classes, community theater projects, ballet studios, dance troupes that will practice there, but they have no place to perform. And frankly, trying to perform in the Performing Arts Center with 1,325 seats is just too big for their needs. So I ask the town remember the historic and cultural relevance and the relationship that we can have as a cultural corridor using 299 Greenwich Avenue to create a vibrant art space in that section of town. Remember the relevant merits of the RFP. Does Greenwich need another hotel when the ones we have aren't at capacity? And more importantly, how do we create a community solution for the Board of Ed and provide a community space for our nonprofits? Thank you.
Sally Kellogg, followed by Christiane Boyes.
Hello.
Sally, yes, go ahead.
I just want to say I think the presentation was really, really professionally pulled together, and I commend you in putting that in such a nice visual presentation. However, I kind of think that some of the other comments were that having a hotel in the center of Greenwich, while it would be beautiful somewhere else, I'm not really sure that that would be the final solution of what could be the synergy that could be happening in that location. I think one of my concerns is that the opening up of the building to be able to make it as beautiful and spectacular it is as the pictures show starts to demolish sort of the inside of the building that's a historical property. Having a 100-unit or 100-seat auditorium is adorable. There's lots of ideas and ways to be able to use it. However, if the historical significance of the auditorium is destroyed, then how does that really help? And is it really something that's going to create some sort of synergy in the center of town? I also did a proposal, RFP. I kind of went overboard. I put in an 11,000-seat amphitheater and entertainment center utilizing the building as a place for professional people in the entertainment business, so there would be access to local people, local children to come in and do auditions and that sort of thing. And then I established a theater, a movie set, and a sound studio, so people could come in and perform live performances, sort of like the town party, and be able to come in and do documentaries, but record music, and additionally add to the facility as a whole to draw people into the center of town. I wanted to make sure that it would be something that would build up some celebrity interaction, so there would be an it factor of people wanting to come into the center of town. And I also added on things like parking areas, but having places where if people were coming into to a performance, they could take the train, park somewhere else, and be able to walk from the train station. I know that's an overreach, and I know that that's way beyond what the RFP was standing for, but when I put it together, and every time I saw some kind of a problem, I sort of moved that boundary a little bit bigger and bigger to be able to resolve the problem as I went. So I understand the use of where the parking would be was sort of where I put parking as well. But I put a sound studio underneath it, so top professionals could perform there too. Thank you.
Thank you. Christiane Bowles, and then followed by Adele Rhoda. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
I'm sorry?
Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Boyce.
Boyce, okay.
Boyce, yes. Good evening. My name is Christine Boyce, president of the Chamber Players of the Greenwich Symphony, and I represent one of the small arts organizations here in town in need of a perfect performance venue that Suzanne Leo had referred to just a few minutes ago. We are an independent ensemble of professional musicians, all principals of the Greenwich Symphony Orchestra, and this October we will begin our 54th season. The chamber players are managed by our own board of directors. We are registered as a separate 501c3, funded by ticket revenue and generous contributions by our loyal supporters. We present an annual concert series of 8 performances on selected Sundays and Mondays in October, November, March, and April, plus an annual benefit concert in June. We also have given special concerts in our community in partnership with the Bruce Museum, the Coscob Library, Alliance Française, Greenwich Library, in nearby communities at Edge Hill, the Osborne in Rye, Kendall on Hudson, in Sleepy Hollow. For many years, the Round Hill Community Church has been and still is our Sunday afternoon venue due to the unique atmosphere and good acoustics in the sanctuary, as well as the availability of a high-quality piano, an essential component for most of our chamber music concerts. On Monday, our Monday performances have had to relocate in a number of times during my 12-year tenure, for a number of different reasons. We used to perform at Bantle Hall in the old Bruce Museum, but when the Bruce renovation started in 2018, we were forced to find a new home. We moved to the recital hall at Greenwich Arts Council, a very old building with a number of issues. And from there, we moved on to the Vanderbilt Education Center at Greenwich Historical Society, where we are now literally bursting at the seams. As you can see, we have been searching for a suitable Monday concert venue, not only for our musicians, but also for our loyal and very appreciative audience. We were excited to learn about the Havemeyer building redevelopment plan, including what has been referred to as giving new life to the historic auditorium. The size and flexibility of the Havemeyer Auditorium strikes us as perfect, and we therefore welcome and strongly endorse the proposed plan for the renovation of this auditorium, and we very much hope that it will include a permanent performance space for the chamber players and other arts organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Adele Rhoda, followed by Dan Quigley.
Hi, I'd like to start by saying thank you to all of you for your time and volunteering and all the efforts you've put forth. Also, you've clearly got a quality team here. The renderings are beautiful. However, in my opinion, this is not checking the boxes for what we need in central Greenwich. The proposal and a statement initially made by the first selectman about returning the building to the residents of Greenwich, this to me does not do that. And that's really important. I'm concerned about this auditorium. It sounds lovely, it looks lovely, but it's also a restaurant at certain times. What will be the guarantee of the number of weeks that the public would have access to these spaces? What would be the cost structure? Who manages that? Let's see, there was commentary in the RFP about there's a hospitality void on Greenwich Avenue and the environs. I think that's incorrect. And I don't think we want to give up a public building that we'll never get back to fill a hospitality void. I want to speak about this in conjunction with the senior center. I was interested to hear other people reference that as well. The senior center, which is now called the Wallace Center, sits across the street at 299 Greenwich Avenue, and it's shared space with a lot of these arts organizations. The Greenwich Senior Center has 2 floors that have about 8,000 square feet. It's the only senior center in Fairfield County that does not have dedicated parking. I would invite people here to go visit 299 and see the space. Our seniors deserve better. I don't see this project making parking better on the avenue. I see it making it worse, right in an area that's already problematic. I personally have missed events at the senior center because you can't find a parking space. That, and many others as well. Or you have to circle and you're causing pollution, whatever. Bear with me here. Okay, this would return just over $500,000 in taxes. I don't think that that's worth what we're doing here. And also, I think we all need to understand better about there was a large dollar amount that this was going to be taking out of what the town would have to put in for maintenance. Shame on us for not maintaining that building and other buildings to get us in the position we're in today. Shame on us. It's our building. We'll never get this back if we allow this to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Dan Quigley, followed by Sam Rosenfeld.
I'll say thank you to everyone on the committee first for the time you put into this. I'm going to direct my comments to the people here, though. I'm an RTM member and currently the chair of the Land Use Committee, so I paid a lot of attention to this project. I hear everyone here tonight. I think it's great everyone's here speaking their mind. They're very passionate about this building in the town. But we cannot lose sight of what the major issue that our town has been facing over the last few years is, and that's our capacity to handle the type of capital projects that we have coming up. This building is the jewel of Greenwich, but right now it's an albatross. It is estimated it will cost at least $50 million. You will pay for it to redo an office building. That's what it is. It's an office building. The Board of Ed staff does not like it. It is decrepit and it's falling apart. Now, we can have different ideas about what we want to do with it. There's different plans, there's different proposals, but this particular proposal solves 2 problems. It solves the problem of procuring a new building for the Board of Ed where they want to be located in central downtown Greenwich, so every family has access to go there, and it repurposes with a nod to the history and the architecture of the existing Havemeyer building, something that we all love. We've seen this happen with Restoration Hardware in the post office. We've seen it happen with the senior center. We've seen it happen with the security center. All these buildings downtown in the major historic district have been repurposed and revitalized. This is the last piece to the puzzle. Greenwich will take $60 million out of its future capital budgets. A Board of Ed, which Ms. Hirsch and Ms. Coven can attest, are having a very hard time convincing finance board in the town to put up the money to do all the capital projects we need. This is a major removal of something that will be an impediment in the future for what's an office building. Now, the town will get tax revenue back for this, $650,000 a year. It will negotiate a price to lease this property. And what it should do is buy the Board of Ed building, pay for it with that revenue, so no taxpayers have to put a dime into that. It will own it. It will continue to get tax revenue from Havemeyer for 99 years, which will then come into our coffers. It will look beautiful downtown, and it will put the cap on our downtown historic district. And again, I respect everyone's opinion here. I love the creative arts stuff and having spaces for that. But you got to keep your eye on the prize. And the most important benefit this gives the town is the financial benefit of removing that capital project off the burden of taxpayers. Thank you all for your work. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dan. Sam Rosenfeld, followed by Tom Meyer. That's close. That's the best I could do.
Well, thank you for getting Rosenfeld right. How are you? Thank you all for putting the time into this presentation. Thank you to everyone who's here. My name's Sam Rosenfeld. I'm a representative on the RTM from District 1, so right down the street from this gorgeous building and that gorgeous building. I think a lot of us here are kind of asking ourselves when we live in this neighborhood, what are the things that drew us here? We really like being able to walk to the Ave, but I don't say it's because I can walk to La Scala. I really like being able to walk to the park. I like being able to walk here to do RTM duties and things like that. How many times have we been here for those who are more active in government activities where there are not enough seats and you wish there was some larger space for our public to meet and maybe gather? If only there were an auditorium nearby that we could think of a public use for. I think it's not that we have an issue with anything that you sitting up here have done. It's that you've been set down the path with the wrong question, right? It's what's best for the town of Greenwich, not what's the best way to get $60 million off the books, or what's the best way that we can get $600,000 back in estimated taxes. Is this crown jewel that we're talking about, could it be something that's actually a crown jewel for Greenwich? There was a time where someone like Mr. Havemeyer felt so passionate about his successes that he gave his wealth away to put a structure there, to build a school. And I feel like the missing element here is how do we make our town the kind of place where we don't ask ourselves how we rub nickels and dimes together to make things work? How do we get the public so fired up about being here that they want to put money in to help our schools be better, to help find a public use for that space? Because this town has a very long history of that happening. Like we're surrounded by all these examples of very successful people building public use structures that were not built on the premise of, well, 100 years from now, someone's going to turn this into a hotel and they'll figure out how to recoup the cost, right? They're doing it because they want it to stand the test of time. They make these buildings look gorgeous. I guess maybe this is just an open call to the town of Greenwich. If you want to be passionate about this town and you're the kind of person who's looking for those visions, it's a great time to speak out because the public is with you, right? We all want to see this become something amazing. It's not that the hotel looks bad, right? It clearly, you put a lot of thought into it. I know that this group, if tasked with that question, what's the best use for this property, regardless of those financial objectives, what's the best use of this property, this group would be the right group to solve it because what you did there with the objective was great. Anyway, I won't waste more of your time, but thank you for being here tonight. And good luck.
Thank you, Sam. Tom Meyer, followed by Francia Alvarez. Tom, did I get your name right?
It's Tom Megna, but thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Not a member of the Greenwich community, but I'm the executive director of the Muse in Greenwich, which is a half bowling place, which is right across the street from the proposed building. 60% of our residents are from Greenwich. They have lived here for many, many years. We also are supporters of the Greenwich Symphony. We're supporters of the Bruce Museum, the Senior Center, and the list goes on. So we're very involved. Our concern, simply put, is traffic. Our concern is safety. We average 5 ambulances going down Bowling Place each week. I don't know what the proposal is there for that and the safetiness of our residents. Also, I just was hearing a comment about the underground parking. That layout that I see is right on Bowling Place, and I know there are residents here from Bowling Place who would agree. How the heck is that going to work? Last but not least, we tried to develop an underground parking lot in our location, and there is an aquifer, there is water running through, excuse me, which we couldn't do. I'm curious if you really looked into that yet, but I would definitely look into that before you start thinking of an underground parking. Other than that, I just really have listened to all the Greenwich residents, and I really admire the history behind it, and I'm glad to have heard their comments as well, so thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Francine Alvarez, Lucy Von Brockel. Francine? Hi.
Yes, Francia Alvarez.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Francia Alvarez. I'm here tonight representing the Greenwich Tree Conservancy, founded in January of 2007. We are a public-private partnership with the town of Greenwich. Our mission is to plant, preserve, and protect our urban forest. Since our inception, we have planted over 6,000 trees in Greenwich. Our comments are exclusively focused on the trees and the landscapes on this project. The Havemeyer Building RFP Evaluation Committee has put in a great deal of time reviewing the multiple proposals, and we would like to express our appreciation for the dedicated work that has gotten us to this meeting this evening. The GTC also would like to acknowledge the thoughtful recognition of the historic trees and landscapes in the proposal submitted by Eagle Peebles, a historic renovation of the Havemeyer Building in the area of town designated as the Greenwich Municipal Historic District. There are memorials to our many Greenwich veterans who died in service for our country, are honored on Veterans Day right there at the Havemeyer Building, surrounded by stately copper beech trees. This beautiful building and historic magnificent trees at Arch Street and Greenwich Avenue are at the crossroads of our history. After much careful evaluation of the proposal, the Greenwich Tree Conservancy would like to request the following. A site plan to include all existing trees by species and DBH. As the project moves forward, the GTC asks for a full plan outlining any trees slated for removal, putting on record those to be preserved, and outlining measures to protect trees from construction impacts using low-impact development best practices. A gratitude grove was planted in 2021, honoring the efforts and commitment of the frontline workers and local heroes during COVID. This grove is adjacent to the area of the proposed new atrium. Given the proximity, the GTC would like verification that this new atrium or its construction will not flow into the existing area for the dedicated grove. As this proposal to renovate and repurpose will require considerable staging, where will this staging be located? What measures will be taken to ensure that the extensive work does not impact the roots of the existing healthy trees? As a case in point, the town experienced loss of one of two historic beech trees at the entrance to the commons from a relatively minor project. The responsibility for the loss still remains unclear. The roots of beech trees can be fragile. This loss underscores the need for and supervision of protection methods for these natural historic assets. Again, we greatly appreciate the work that has gone into this project by the Building Committee and all applicants, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this evening.
Thank you, Francis. Lucy Von Brockel, followed by Marcello Guzzo. Sorry about that.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Von Brockel. I'm a resident of Greenwich. I'm a member of the RTM in District 4 and former member of the Land Use Committee, and I spent a lot of time in my teenage years loitering in Havemeyer Park. I was really heartened to see an alternative proposal for the Havemeyer building in the news today, suggesting a mixed-use development of the property and nonprofit involvement, because I think that this is a healthy way and a less risky way to go than what is proposed. I'm going to not repeat everything that Mr. Sprang said at the beginning of the meeting, but I agree with him that this was kind of a backward process. A better way to do this would have been to survey the community to better understand what our values are and whether we actually prioritize making some money over community uses of a repurposed Havemeyer building. Then we could get a highest and best use appraisal of the property that is focused on what the community has expressed are their values. We could bring viable options to the community in a public hearing to get additional feedback, craft an RFP that reflects the community's feedback and the actual potential of the property, review proposals, possibly with another arm's length appraisal of the viability of those options, and then present the preferred proposal to the community. It's disappointing that this is the only option before us. This is a slow process. It's going to be an even slower process if you have to now get community buy-in on one idea. I think a lot of you up here have seen how slow approvals are and how frustrated some of the bodies in town get when they're not prepared for what's coming before them. I'm also concerned about the risk involved in this. And when you're dealing with a proposal that is commercial, you're dealing with a situation where revenue is at the developer's greatest concern. So I think that we need to remember things like we are not guaranteed to be able to get this, quote, municipal building for the BOE. We need to get approval for that. And as far as I understand it, that would be market rate office space. And we already know that there's market rate office space the BOE was asked to consider at $3 million a year. In exchange, we get $10 million for a 99-year lease, and $700,000 a year in property taxes. It doesn't sound like the best math for us, and I would propose that we look at other ideas. For example, have we considered keeping the BOE there and renovating it so that we can use extra space for some other purpose? I don't know. But it would be helpful to know what's coming, what you've tried to what you've explored before we focus on this one item. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Marcello, followed by Cheryl Dawson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, distinguished committee. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My English is my foreign language, so if you don't mind, I will try to read the speech. My name is Marcelo Guzzo. I'm the Executive Director of Greenwich Opera, and a nonprofit organization dedicated to making opera and performing art accessible, meaningful, and community-driven here in Greenwich and beyond. I'm a long-time resident. I dedicated my entire life to the arts, especially to opera. For over 20 years, I have sung in most theaters in the world. I've seen firsthand how music and performing can transform both people and places. As a performer, producer, and educator, I made my mission to help bring the same power and transform our community here in Greenwich. Tonight, I'm here to offer my strong support for the Havemeyer Arts Center proposal. It's something that we wish is to have more seats. This project not only is about restoring historical building, it's about creating a home for music, theater, learning, dialogues, and community connections. It's the kind of cultural space that speaks directly to the values we're building here at Greenwich Opera: accessibility, collaboration, and artistic excellence rooted in the heart of this town. We know the challenge of finding the right space to work and perform. Greenwich has incredible venues, but many are either too large, too limited in function, or too constrained by other issues. We have encountered that problem many times. The Havemeyer Center feels a critical need, a flexible, professional, great performing venue that can support everything from local youth ensembles to visiting international artists. But this is just about logistics, but I believe something more important is the momentum to have this opportunity. It is the perfect situation, but this is the one that we have the opportunity to. Major institutions from across the region are already expressing interest in what's happening here. There is a real potential for Greenwich to become a cultural destination, not just for its beauty and history, but for its creativity and energy. This project will help unlock that future. We are in the early stages of envisioning a town-wide music festival where every corner of Greenwich, from parks to shops to historic halls, becomes a canvas for artistic expression. A space like Havemeyer will be essential to making that vision real. It will allow us to welcome guests and audiences from both within Greenwich and beyond, and to build something lasting and joyful for the community. I dedicate my entire life to this art form. I believe in the power that brings people together. This project does the same. It's not just a building, it's a chance to deepen our connection as a town, and that's something worth supporting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcello. Bill Dawson, followed by Carol Zevlin.
Chairman Drews and members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Cheryl Dunson. I'm a co-founding member of the Greenwich Tree Conservancy, and I'd like to briefly expand on the comments that my colleague Francia Alvarez submitted. She noted that we're an organization to plant, preserve, and protect trees. We planted over 6,000 since our founding. Most recently, people may have seen our Gateway project. We planted over 100 trees on the Post Road, with 200 more to go, we hope. We planted trees in the western part of town, which has a dearth of trees in comparison to the central and eastern parts of town. But the tree work also isn't just about planting, it's about educating and informing. So I don't know how many people here in this room know that Greenwich is an internationally recognized town-wide arboretum. And that work was done in conjunction with the town by putting labels on trees throughout our parks, our schools, and on our walkways in our central business districts, even on the site of the Havemeyer building. We also have a notable tree program, which identifies notable trees in our community. And since we resurrected this program in 2023, we have 30 state champions and 11 co-champions. I bring all of this to your attention because too often trees and development projects are viewed as obstacles, not as assets. Maintaining these trees, which are indicated in the report, some of them are 55, 65 caliber trees, are part of our history. They're part of our legacy. And the aesthetic benefits are only a small part of the environmental benefits that old growth trees such as these are far superior than the 2 and 3 or maybe even 4-inch caliber trees, if we're lucky, are installed once landscapes are altered. So we will be honoring this historic donation to our community, which with whichever proposal is ultimately selected, we urge the town to ensure that this historic landscape is preserved and enhanced. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol? Yeah. Yes. I blew it, sorry. To be followed by James Walsh. I'm sure about Walsh.
Okay, I'm Carol Zarelli, lifelong resident of Greenwich, RTM member since 2000, and 10 years on the Budget Overview Committee. All of that said is that I feel all the work you've done, all of the wonderful interest that everybody's put forth right now, I also agree that we should have gone to the town residents first to add in the community aspect. There's green space. I haven't heard anything about the green space alongside the Havemeyer building or in back of it. Is it going to be disrupted, used in the project? Going forward, I think our first selectman and many other people have touted the private-public partnerships. And the money that we need to renovate this building to make it a true community building, we could have a there's a lot of wealth in Greenwich. Everybody likes to look, in Hartford, likes to look down at Greenwich as the wealthy part of Connecticut. In any case, I'd like everybody's personal aspect of the use of the building. When our first selectman mentioned to me, Carol, we're going to do a wonderful thing. We're going to put the Havemeyer building back in the hands of the people. I got excited. I thought that would be a really great thing. I was seeing community uses, not professional hotels, whatever. While the drawings and the whatever that you presented tonight looked wonderful, that was not really my idea of a community use of the building. Once, if you look at the Plaza 1 and 2 years back, we kept the land with a 99-year lease. There were 2 big office buildings that we own the land, but we will never, past 99 years, we will never, ever get that property back for town use. And so once you turn over the Havemeyer building for a 99-year lease, it's really, while we still own the land, we don't own the building, and the use to the community is gone forever. And I just think that we can keep these ideas, but I think you need to look into more of a community use for the building. We have the new Eastern Civic Center, which is great, but it's still a profit center for the town. We have the Western Civic Center, the same thing. They rent space and use. We need a Central Greenwich community center. And that could be an art center, that could be music, it could be for seniors. There's enough square footage there and grounds, parking lot, whatever, that we could make something really, truly wonderful for the town of Greenwich. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. James Walsh, followed by Chuck Royce.
Hey, good evening, folks. I think the current proposal has been put forward is a losing one for the town, right? All the proposals result in more tax revenue. The one that you guys have chosen to put forward, as I understand it, is a one-time payment of $10.5 million and maybe the opportunity to lease or purchase a building at some future date for market value. That is going to hurt our students. It's going to hurt our residents. And you're really giving away this 2.7-acre parcel of land downtown for next to nothing. Right? I think a conversation needs to be had in town of, what do we truly want to see here, right? Do we want to be, giving land away and leasing it in 99 years, you're never really getting that back? Or as the woman said, who went first, should we be purchasing land, right? The Rockefeller property that got away, the flower shop next to Coscop School. That's a wider conversation for town. But, with this project specifically, what worries me is, one, it's going to be a boondoggle for the Board of Ed, who is going to have to find the funds to, lease or purchase a new space, and that is going to hurt our students in the long run. Also, the, restaurant/community space, if you're going to do this, you have to have specific dates written in there, days of the week, months of the year, how many of them. And that revenue should go to the town. The town should own that space for those contracted days, and they should be the ones to set the rates for the lease, for the days, and have that money possibly come back. I don't think we want to go forward and make a big mistake of giving this property up for $10.5 million. Other municipalities have privatized. Look at Chicago with their Skyway and parking meter debacle, right? 20 years on, it was a horrific deal for the town. And I think if you move forward with this proposal, 10, 20 years on, people are going to look back and say, hey, that might not have been the best deal for the town. So, we need to have a vision for the future, how it relates to land use, what's the best one for the town. And, maybe, we have to cough up a few more dollars and pay for the nice things and to maintain what we currently have here in town. So please just consider this as you move forward. If you do decide to lease it, please really look at the financials of it and don't just give it away for a song, and make sure that, our students, our Board of Ed, and the Greenwich schools and greater community is protected, financially, and also, by whatever ends up being placed here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, James. Chuck Royce, followed by Aldo. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm Chuck Royce. I'm representing, with John Farrar, his proposal. His proposal is simplified in several ways. One, the wing of the Havemeyer, the right side looking from Greenwich Avenue, would be dedicated to the arts. Dedicated in a full, complete sense, a substantial theater that is harboring activities virtually every night, and then substantial other public space below the theater for the many arts that go on in this wonderful town. We did a rough count the other day of how many arts organizations are they in Greenwich. We stopped counting at 30. It's extraordinary. We've heard from some of these tonight. But this particular vision of having the wing dedicated to the arts, I think has substantial benefit to the town, substantial benefit to the community in every way. I can see it adding economic vitality to Greenwich Avenue. As somebody pointed out earlier, the lights would be on as opposed to off. So we see this as a win-win for the town. In the case of John Ferrari's, there would be offices in the other half, the non-wing. Those offices, of course, would pay taxes, and so would the condominium project that he is suggesting in the parking lot. They would pay taxes. I don't have the number in front of me, but they would be substantial taxes. So I don't see that as a incremental issue. What can happen, though, in the wing is substantial private, public funds that will back the idea of substantial artists having a home. Greenwich Symphony, Greenwich Chorus, we could just go on and on. We've heard from some of them tonight. That would come from the public. And we've already talked to quite a few people and had no problem raising $3 million for operating the various theater and center. My hero in all this is Peter Malkin, who many years back, the entire building, Havemeyer, was going to be used for arts. The Bruce Museum would have put the science wing. Our theaters, the Avon, would have had a couple movie theaters. Nevertheless, he set the tone, the correct tone, and I think we should follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Aldo. After Aldo, we should check the internet for any raised hands on Zoom. Okay.
Yeah, I just love this proposal. I think it's a great design. I think the various ways it solves the problems that the town has with this property are very clever, thoughtful. I'm reminded of something that Andreas Duani said to the League of Women Voters years ago. This town better never lose those 2 movie theaters at the bottom of Greenwich Avenue because they bring life to Greenwich Avenue at night. And I think this would too. I haven't heard anything tonight really that couldn't be dealt with in the process of going through the plans, the iterations, what the economics are going to be. That can all be determined going forward. So I think it's a great proposal. I commend you for choosing it. I'm a huge John Ferrari fan. I'm not as familiar with his proposal, so I'm not speaking against his proposal, but I think this is a good proposal, and I think you should go forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Aldo. Wendy, are there any people on Zoom asking to ask a question?
So for the people who joined through Zoom, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand.
Is there a sign up here over there for more questions? Hands on? Nope. Wendy, shall I give you a second, or they're not in the wait list there?
Well, it seems like nobody raised their hand, so anybody here?
Yeah, so if anyone else wants to ask questions now, we still have half an hour. You could come to the podium. Why don't we just start from right to left? You in the corner. Come on up to the podium. Or
Is this a question or a comment?
it could be either. Your call. And whoever's next in that row, get right behind, you'll be next. Thank you. State your name, please, and speak to the microphone.
My name is Marcia Hamilton. Been a resident in Greenwich for 30 years, raised my children here in the public school system. And my husband, Donald Hamilton, was on the RTM for many years. And I'm here in support of making Havemeyer a centerpiece of arts, cultural performance, and activity in the town of Greenwich. The idea of hotel, I'm not sure why we need a hotel and how that benefits our community. But an arts center in all its aspects benefits our community. I consider Greenwich to have 3 wonderful gems as a resident. The Bruce Museum, the library, the Greenwich Symphony. We have a symphony in our town with performers from New York City, very accomplished and established musicians. An art center to allow more possibilities and input and involvement by the community in something that will benefit the community of every age, from small to older like myself, is something that Greenwich needs and is long overdue getting. I just do not see that a hotel will benefit the greater community and why we need this versus a center that benefits everybody in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Abby, you want to come on up?
I have one person actually.
Okay, well, just wait. We have after the speaker, we'll take that person. Okay. State your name.
Hi, Laura Costin. I signed up to speak, so I'm not sure what happened there. But my name is Laura Costin, and while I wear other hats in town, including as a member of the Board of Education, I'm speaking as a resident and taxpayer. Mr. Camillo has stated his desire to the building be returned to the people, but turning it into a hotel only turns it over to the people who don't actually live here. The process of seeking out what to do with the building, which currently serves its purpose and costs the town little to nothing, has been a colossal waste of time. With no appropriation from the town and no commitment from the BET on funding, the Board of Education was asked to tour a space for rent that would cost taxpayers $3 million a year and then escalate from there. It provided no home for the Board of Education, and everyone in this room probably knows how difficult it is to get our schools funded. Most homeowners and people with common sense who contemplate a move would first undergo a process to attach a value to the dwelling they currently have. Then they would hire an agent to find them a suitable new space. That has not happened here. Our facility master plan estimated a renovation of the building at roughly $24 million. Not too bad of an estimate, but $3 million over 8 years could cover it. I don't see any value in throwing money away on rent and forcing our board to be nomadic. The current proposal seeks to build a new space for the board for about $30 million with the privilege of then offering it to us at that rate. And that's assuming the construction of said new building makes it through the various regulatory hurdles, which are considerable. So with no monetary value to place on the building, the first selectman then formed a committee and asked for proposals which required no community use and no mention that a vote of the Board of Education would be required for a change of use. If I were a respondent, I would be furious. While there are legitimate questions about the highest and best use of the building, a hotel provides no community benefit unless you don't live here and are paying to stay there. The first selectman said he would be open to doing a space study of Town Hall to hopefully accommodate the board. No firm, to my knowledge, has been engaged to do one. This plan is just another way for the town to do what it always does: let a building fall into decay and look for other ways for someone else to fix it. A few years ago, the RTM debated whether or not to fix the fire escapes for the building, which has people in it. Do not privatize our public assets, preserve them, and fix the auditorium and the building.
Hey, Peter, now you can talk.
Hi.
Yes, Peter is here.
Sure. First of all, I want to compliment the committee for the excellent.
Can you guys hear?
Louder.
Can you hear? I want to thank the committee for the time and effort it's put in to get us this far. I think that we've heard at least two proposals that might be combined in some way that might, either with the recommended proposal, devote a larger share of it to the community for actual community use, or provide some portion of the residential part for moderate income town employees, keeping the total design. I think that the Chuck Royce idea of a wing of the building set aside for cultural and art is sustainable and could work. So my suggestion is that some thought be given to, in some way, combining the ideas that have been presented as the number one and number two choices. It's a beautiful design, but we should have more community use of it than is contemplated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, what was your name? If you repeat that, please.
Peter Malkin.
Oh. Thank you.
Anthony Moore. First of all, thanks to all of you for the service that you've done here. You did a yeoman's work. You were asked to perform a function in this town and do it on your own time, and you've clearly done that well. Really appreciate that. I also think it's worth thanking the people who actually spent their time putting together RFPs and coming here and listening to the community. All of you, I feel, deserve thanks for the job you did. But what I think we're hearing clearly today from this audience, and potentially there are others who are of a similar mindset, is that you're going to turn off the Zoom mic.
Yes.
Turn off the. No problem. I think what you would discover is that the people here are seeing a clear lack of leadership from where this all began, because this is a classic example in Greenwich of cart before horse. In Greenwich, we don't have a vision. We don't do plans. We wait for things to crumble, and when they start to crumble, we either send out an RFP to somebody somewhere else, or we ask a donor to come in and give us some money to fix it up. That's not really the way this should work. We should have started, I think everybody believes, with an open forum like this. That should have been the beginning of the process. We shouldn't have been presented with a fait accompli. And I have no opinion at this moment on this because I think there are reasons to think that there are various values that need to be checked off before we make a decision. They include the financial integrity of this town, the future capital needs of this town, but they also include the quality of life in this town and what our community values. And unfortunately, this process, because it was done, golly, like what we did with the rink, was done in secret, behind closed doors, and then brought to us. And it's not the first one we've seen. It's the first of a number that happened, that seemed to happen behind closed doors without the public input first. What we really need is respect for our public. We need to listen to the public, and then we need to bring back solutions that meet both our needs and our values. And I appreciate, again, your work here. But I hope we're going to be able to reset the clock and take a look at the options from a community values perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Okay, from the audience in the center section, is there anyone in the center section who'd like to ask a question? Okay, going to the far side, the lady in the striped shirt. Please identify yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Is there anyone over there also who'd like to ask another question? Why don't you come up here and be in back?
Hello, my name is Lisa Faro. I have lived in Greenwich almost my entire life. I'd like to speak to the quality of life in this town. We are all very proud to live in this town. However, there is one issue which we all share and are familiar with, and that's called traffic. Traffic in the center of Greenwich is almost impassable at some times. The intersection, which is right near the proposed hotel and possible Board of Ed, is Arch Street and Greenwich Avenue. It is also a pedestrian passway. That intersection is almost dangerous at present. If you continue down Arch Street, you hit the intersection of Arch Street and Sound View. That intersection is almost impassable at some times, and there are pedestrians trying to walk across there. If you add parking and additional traffic for a hotel, in addition, a Board of Ed, I'm not quite sure what will happen. In addition, I'd like to underscore the plea by the director of the Muse. The Muse sits almost exactly across from the proposed site. It is a refuge and a home for many Greenwich residents. Ambulances travel down that road, Bowling Place, to help people in dire straits. I really urge the committee not to ignore the problem of traffic.
Thank you. Okay, come on up and stand behind the podium. Please state your name.
Hi, however, I'm Elise Sean, and again, I want to applaud the beautiful work that has been done. Just to give background, I have a master's in real estate development. I'm a proponent for development. However, in this case, this is not a highest and best use. If this was on the water, sure. Here are some of the reasons why I do not believe that this proposal serves us and why it fails public interest. It is disingenuous at best to state that the financial justification in a town such as Greenwich with immense wealth is one that we need to be concerned about this because we can't afford to maintain a building. That reflects a lack of civil will. This is not about money, it's about priorities, and the town has refused to address even basic public safety needs, like, for example, fixing the long-identified hazardous curb on Arch Street, which this property will sit on. If leadership won't invest in small-scale safety improvements, how can we trust them with the oversight of a $60 million public-private redevelopment? Secondly, the loss of public control and ownership in practice. This is a 99-year lease which effectively transfers the control of a public building to a private sponsor. The town retains legal title but not operational authority, which in effect, we become a tenant in our own space downtown. The public dollars used to lease back the space we already occupy for free, and the BOE, which currently occupies it at no additional lease cost, would be displaced and then be required required to rent back space from the developer, redirecting public funds toward an unnecessary new expense, which the BOE desperately needs. Increased traffic and blocked emergency access to Bowling Place and Art Street are already congested, poorly suited, and accommodate increased traffic from a hotel rooftop venue and event space, which is again sitting on a one-way street with no emergency vehicle access to the Muse and elderly care facility, will be directly compromised. There is no supporting traffic infrastructure or environmental studies. Despite the project size and complexity, the town has provided no comprehensive study evaluating its long-term impact on infrastructure, safety, environment, or quality of life. The precedent sets a long situation of loss of civic assets, transferring a core municipal building to private control without public vote, sets a dangerous precedent, and if that becomes the norm, more public assets may follow. And the last thing that's concerning is the underground parking feasibility, which again, the Muse has already mentioned as concern. Previous attempts to build underground structures in the area were halted due to the presence of an aquifer and high water table, and these geological factors call the proposed underground garage into serious question with both cost and viability. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Come on up to the podium. Is there anyone next to follow the speaker? Are you the last speaker?
I guess I am.
Okay, make it good.
Hey, oh, the pressure. Susan Foster, longtime resident here in my individual capacity. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but in light of what I've heard, I feel compelled to. I want to refresh everyone's memory about the Eastern Civic Center. There was the same kind of thing that occurred that's occurring here tonight. And the powers that be then pulled back and did a survey to the public. And then that survey was very instrumental because what the community really weighed in on was that they wanted a civic center, not an athletic center. There was a point where it was going to be artificial turf field inside, and it would have been truly an athletic center. But that would have never come out without a survey. And just listening tonight and the amount of feedback that has come to you, I think, and knowing there's a good second, it sounds like the Royce Ferrari proposal was close on the tail of this one that you chose, that it merits doing a survey and revisiting it, because I personally am really, really troubled to hear that the performing space doubles as a restaurant space. I don't even understand that as being, if that's true, and that's the first time I'm hearing that is tonight, that is really super troubling. So if there was no good second, then I would say, hey, what you guys voted for is fabulous, and would be an asset for the town. But we have a good alternative, probably a great alternative. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And thank everyone else who came out tonight. Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Oh, fine.
Okay, Judy, sorry, I have no last name here, Judy. Could you talk?
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm very glad you can't see me, but it's been very interesting to listen to what's going on tonight. I would just suggest several of the opinions that were raised were mine, but what I'm missing is a conversation about practicality, which was raised very shortly, about the presence of water. Our town has had problems with sewage. Our town has had problems with water maintenance. You're going into an area where there is a great deal of downhill runoff in terms of rain, and rain is coming in different ways than it used to 20 years ago. I've only lived in town for 50 years, but I have seen homes just about float away. Please, can we deal with the practicalities before we talk about 70 people who are going to have 70 bathrooms, who are going to have dinner prepared for 70 people in a kitchen that's running water, and have waste from 70 rooms before we even construct a building over open space that had open space to absorb water that will now run off around the bricks. Please, let's be careful, let's be practical, and not dump this on planning and zoning, which has restrictions from the state that make it possible to produce unviable, horrible things in downtown Greenwich. Money floats. When the big boys come and want to spend money, they are doing it to make a profit. Please, Greenwich, let's be careful. and thank you for listening to me. Good night.
Thank you, Judy. I see one more hand. Okay, we got 12 more minutes, so that's all good. State your name, please.
Wendy Force, and I was born in the original Greenwich Hospital, so I'm probably the oldest or a town resident here. My father is Bob Force, and he owned Bob Force's townhouse. Some of you probably remember. Hi. And we still own the building, but I feel the way a lot of people do, that this is a back door. You know, that we were not brought into this process, and we should have been. So I think we need to go back to square one. I think that the work that you guys did is amazing, but I don't think it fits for what our needs are. And the senior center, I don't know who it was, it said, look at the beautiful wall senior center. It's terrible. Has anybody ever been over there? You can't, it's horrible. We need senior space. I don't know whether or not senior residence is a good idea for the Havemeyer building, but I know we're not in compliance with, we don't have enough housing. Whether that might work, I don't know. But we really need to go back to the beginning, and we need to bring in the town's, opinions before they start this. Because looking at that, it looks like it was a done deal. It's going to be a hotel. It was so clear that that was what was going to happen. And that's not the way we should be working things. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, any more hands? Well, in that case, and nothing on Zoom, thank you everyone for your comments tonight. This is really, frankly, very informative, and I appreciate your time and attention. You'll be hearing from us in the future. Thank you.